Okay, we're live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Chicago Corner. I'm Allie Alexandra, and I'm here with our favorite guest. Now, he's always going to be a host in my heart, Jose Ricana. What's going on, Jose?
Doing good. How you doing?
Good. Busy. So what's been going on? What have you been up to?
It's really not. I mean, I think I summed it up there.
You did. But well, tell us all about your channel that you're working on so you can plug it, and we'll do it again at the end. But I want to hear about the channel a little bit.
Sure. It's called Millennial Malfunction. Because I felt like that was the fairest assessment of what I do or where I'm at, what I have to work with for my post-pandemic life. And it just revolves around, what that's like.
Yeah, which is fun, especially with your job with teaching and everything and how that's going into it. That's had to be a lot. I was gonna say, what like, are you just gonna be covering like yourself and your experiences as far as like post-pandemic on the channel? Are you gonna be like doing like anything as far as like news, like activism in the city? Or are you just trying to keep it focused on like your journey? What are you thinking?
Kind of more like big picture stuff, generational, struggles between our generation and the fact I had the graphic today. You should check out the first episode.
Yes.
Where millennials are only like 19% of Congress, and it's probably not, like you got your Ossoffs and the Senate, and you got your Pete Buttigieg's, like, do you want to take over China or do you want to take over all our transportation? So like those are the millennials that are in Congress. Those are the millennials that we're probably going to see exemplified and elevated to, figures in our society to aspire to. I just feel that coming. So that's what this channel is going to, tackle. A lot of marketing that's directed to like, be this kind of marketing bro, be this finance guy. Yeah, that kind of shit.
Right on. What's the name of the channel?
Millennial Malfunction.
Okay, just double checking. Okay, well, I will plug that at the end. I'll post a link. Is it just youtube.com/millennial malfunction?
I always needed some crew guys to help me out with my stuff. Shout out to Gunner. Hope he's doing all right.
Yeah, Gunner. I haven't heard from him in a while. I hope he is all good.
So I'm learning all the ropes, I'm really inspired by the hard work that, everyone that does this kind of stuff, at a really professional scale puts into it.
Yeah, I'm learning all of it too. And like, I can barely even like keep up with the chat, the small chat that we have right now.
Oh man, I can't see the chat.
Oh, you can't?
I can. Oh wait, the comments.
Bear with me, everybody. I'm new at this, believe it or not. But that's why we're doing it now, because the channel's still pretty small. Apparently Mona's saying that there's a lot of echoes, and I don't know what to do about it. So like, I need more details, Mona. Like, is it me? Is it Jose? She's just saying it's distracting.
Okay, you talk, and then we'll see if it's me or you.
This is me talking. I don't know if it's me. See, this is my greatest fear with like streaming, is if I'm running it and then something goes wrong. I'm like, I don't know what to do. So no one's saying anything. So
let me check my computer speakers real quick.
Everybody just bear with us for one moment, please. I don't know how people do this alone, like all the time, full time. I see. Yeah. Wait, now Mona's saying, wait. Everybody hears the echo. I mean, this is pretty typical for me, like to run something and it malfunctions.
Okay. Well,
can someone in the chat just say, like, are you hearing an echo with Jose or with me? Like, which one? Somebody says they don't hear an echo, so I don't know. Anyway, let's just move on, and if it's that bad, we'll fix it later. Yeah, so anyway, so let's start with Michael Madigan. I want to know your thoughts on that whole thing and how he's already appointed I think he's appointed another person to replace him. And for everybody in the chat who doesn't know Mike Madigan, he was the Speaker of the House in Illinois for way too many years. He was also the leader of the Democratic Party, and he pretty much controlled everything. He controls all the funds. He controls what votes are put up on the floor. He's the reason, at least in large part, as you know, why Illinois, Chicago is the way it is. But he kind of represents like the old guard of like the Democrat Party and how they operate on a national level. So anyway, Jose, I'm curious what you think about that.
Yeah, man, he got outfoxed by my alderman, Tabares. So that's fun to see her come out into play. I don't know what leverage she has. Maybe it's all the cops that live in this district and the people they spy on. That's weird. But like, yeah, that 26-year-old kid, shortest lived representative, you know, Madigan, longest serving representative. So that's someone's idea of a joke. And, you know, they're flexing on Madigan, who also appointed Tabares, but it was Tabares's, you know, candidate and pick that ended up being installed. So that's pretty weird that, like, you know, Madigan puts Tabares in power, kind of, with his machinations, and then it's her inner circle that flexes on him because someone else has her back.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think that he would actually like, dip out so quickly.
I'm guessing. I just live here. You know, there's a bunch of
I
don't even talk to my neighbors, so I don't know.
Oh no, you don't talk. I don't talk to my neighbors either.
Yeah, who talks to their neighbors?
Sometimes people do. In small towns, they do still. Like when I go visit my parents, they do. But I don't. Like I was happy to get away from that. You do or you don't?
I don't.
Oh, I was like, do you want to go to Indiana and live in a small town?
Maybe, actually. You know, maybe. If it was the right town.
Yeah, it's gonna be quaint. Oh, Mona says she misses you.
Oh man, I miss everyone there.
I'm really bad at monitoring the chat. I've got a lot to learn, so thanks for dealing with me. But yeah, I mean, Mona misses you a lot. Other people do too. People are always commenting in HLM about how they miss you, so it's good to see you. I know that you were just trying to like decompress after a while of just being super active and stuff in the community. So I hope that that's been good for you to just kind of step away.
I haven't been active in the community. I don't think that's fair to say. People are active in the community. I've been trying to. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into delegitimizing the work that goes into a community just here within the Chicago elite, like the people that write and read Crane's Business Chicago, the people that hold meetings at the Chicago Club, you know, downtown. Hey, Mona, I just got your text. Wow. I forgot you had my number. Yes, I miss you too. I miss everyone. Yeah, I just, all of those rich, important people in downtown Chicago work to delegitimize all of the work that goes into community work and the cohesion, the work that, you know, keeps it cohesive. And those rich and powerful people are mostly concerned with, you know, global international business and politics, because that's where their portfolios are at. That's the stocks they can bet on and speculate on and gamble on. So like figuring out like the larger psyop weirdness that was going on with like, you know, that I call it a coup attempt. I'm not going to stop calling it a coup attempt. You know, I don't know why that would be a problem because I view it as a coup attempt. There's nothing wrong with calling it a coup attempt because I feel like it was, and I'll argue to death it was. But yeah, I felt like something weird like that would come, and from that, a lot of work to delegitimize would take place. You know, we saw the conflation of like, oh, it was Antifa that actually broke the barrier to the cops. There's a lot of weirdness to conflate the kind of rabble-rousing organizer, you know, person that's actually active in the community. You know, we're seeing that leftists are more likely to be criminalized from all this, of course, but like the larger narrative internationally has to be that even the people, you know, like from Chicago that, you know, college, like dropout here, graduate college dropout, we see that bullshit, and that should not take away from the work that's actually keeping the community running. While all of the government has abandoned said community. So like I mostly joined up with HML to like deal with that. And I really wanted to take the holidays off, but like, there was like a coup being planned on Twitter, and I was like, well, stop.
Yeah.
Stop planning the coup. And then they did it. And then I just had to say something, and then I had to just like peace for a
You
while.
were out.
Like I
Yeah.
was shit posting at like a former CIA director that like has just been internationally globetrotting, has
Oh
political
God.
ambitions, and also the linchpin senator from Texas that I feel is at the nexus of a huge fossil fuel conspiracy that also, interconnects military and police to what you call befriend corrupt officials in Mexico to make them more malleable and open to future, extradition of natural resources in northern Mexico, mostly hydrogen, which is great for hydrogen bombs and energy. Kind of the thing that you might need if you want to go to Mars someday. So all that stuff sitting there, and I don't know, like pissing off Ted Cruz and Mike Pompeo, probably not the best thing for my life, but
No.
like fuck them, and like I needed a break after. That's where my shit posting led me.
Yeah, it can lead people down a rabbit hole. I mean, me too. I definitely have to take breaks like once a week. The only thing that sucks is then you do and you come back and you're like, because it's people, it's just overwhelming. Like, and I think that's just in general, like with all of social media. It's really toxic, especially Twitter. I'm noticing too, and I mean, it's probably always been a thing, but I think just because I'm monitoring it more, like on the left, obviously we've talked about this before, like the split, that the fracturing, and now it's just getting worse. But now it's gotten to the point where I just check out when people start talking about it. Like I know talking about Neera Tanden, for example. I'm seeing
Yeah.
people in the chat talk about her.
The
Slash
split?
actually,
I'm sorry. I was checking out the chat and I kind of
yeah, the chat. You can see that Neera Tanden is here. What up, girl?
she sucks. She
No,
sucks because she ruins people's lives purposefully
yeah,
to advance her own career and to deter progress. That's I'm taking an annoying activist route. I'm writing angry letters, or I'm writing letters of support, to Marie Newman for stuff that like she's already like, was the lead sponsor on. I'm like, they support this, and they're like, we wrote the bill. I'm like, I know. I'm just like, good job. It's annoying, but like I did make
yeah.
calls about Neera Tanden, to whatever office might listen, and like I don't want to. I don't want to ruin someone's career. I don't want to ruin someone that's going to do good, effective work where we need them to do good, effective work, from advancing, especially a woman of color, who's had to really work hard, throughout her career. I don't think those are things that really are qualifiers for Neera Tanden. Why a concentration of people have basically given her the cold shoulder because of her actions. It wasn't mean tweets. That is stupid that the Republicans are like, oh, you wrote mean tweets, and they're like, Trump wrote such like prolific shit posting for nearly a decade. They're like, man, you should just be God Emperor of the planet. Like, they did that. So like, it's like, fuck them. But like, Neera Tanden, she internationally, she's known for supporting the huge debacle in Libya to seize more oil. Just like a very imperialistic point of view, that has never been rectified. And the fact that they're bombing Syria today isn't going to be rectified.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very toxic posturing by the Biden administration and by the U.S. In general. And then domestically, besides punching people in her office and like that are trying to advance progressive policy, I mean, she's targeted like young reporters that are making like less than 50,000 a year, just getting their start and like ruining their lives as they're trying to get in the game of, journalism, because of like mean tweeting shit. Um, so like, I don't think that's been fully rectified. I don't know how you go about that. I'm certainly not, I made calls basically saying I think it just sends a rough message, both domestically and internationally, to people that are looking to America for any kind of sign of, you know, rectifying anything that's happened this past decade.
Yeah.
The fact that the Biden administration would say, hey, this is the most progressive I'm willing to go, I think is a bad, bad, bad sign.
Yeah.
And, I don't wish Nira to like, go off in the woods and like, like never have a career again. I think that this is a very important and powerful position, and that she's only being, a qualifier for dangling very inconsistent, what you call it, perspectives, tones, policy, what she's about. I'm a progressive, but I do this kind of stuff. I think that this kind of behavior should, be inadmissible, in all places, all of Bernie's people. She would gladly have gone along with all of Bernie's people or Trump's people, and they should all be criminalized. It took a very weird fine line of dancing to us not get there and get to this place where now Nira has to answer for her actions. But what I don't want, is more of like what everyone said was going to happen. And of course it was going to happen, but like, yeah, like, we have to flex on like, hey, those people that attempted a coup on the Capitol, like, fuck them, they're dangerous. Like, tag them and, tag and release, like figure out which ones are psychotic, and keep a tab on them. And then they want to pass new laws that would target like leftist veterans, or like or unemployed people, or mentally ill people. And we don't want the reason that Tandon doesn't get in to be a reason that good people and people that have written a lot of shit posting and problematic tweets don't have a career again. But at the same time, it's not that. It's the message and the posturing of a very important, powerful seat, and the message it sends internationally to allies that are really the only reason that the Biden administration will carry its legitimacy into another presidency in the U.S. with us us folded into a fascist state, and domestically, it's the people that actually give a damn about these kind of things. So, yeah.
Mona just asked, she said, am I misunderstanding this? And I think you're basically saying like she shouldn't be disqualified because of the things that she said. I pretty much understand what you're saying, but just to like sum it up, like she shouldn't be disqualified because of the things that she said, obviously because of things that she's done, because you're saying that's going to eventually, that'll happen to all of us. Is that what you're saying? If not, then clarify a little bit, because I think Mona's
you got it.
Okay. Yeah. No, I like the way that you like frame things. Sometimes it's like, it's like a bit of a mental journey, because there was like so much else in there. I mean, I would say it's by her actions too. I think it's stupid when just because somebody tweets something that should disqualify them from anything. I mean, you don't have to convince me of that. I don't know. I was just trying to clarify for Mona. She said, WTF, Jose. So.
Yeah. No, she should not get the job because it's a big FU internationally and domestically to progressives everywhere around the globe.
Yeah.
That's why. That's
Yeah, not because of her tweets. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I've seen it on the right. I saw it on the right, like in the past few years. It's like, oh, he shouldn't have said that, or she shouldn't do this because of what he tweeted. But it's getting really, really, really bad on the left. It's like, I mean, I'm sure it is on the right too. I just like to float and see like who's saying what. But like the petty fighting lately on the left is ridiculous. And I think a lot of it's just people grifting. It's just grifting. Like, I just see it, like, it just makes me not even want to be on Twitter sometimes. And I don't even look at it anymore, really, because it's so negative.
Oh, yeah. I think there was a coup, Mona. Sorry.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Yeah, I mean,
sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Well, it failed.
Yeah. Right? I mean, but it was
whatever
also
it was.
a message.
Well, What did you think of I know I said we were going to talk about Chicago, but we'll come back to Chicago. I'm curious what you think about the impeachment and how that all played out. If you even paid attention, because I'm going to be honest, I really didn't.
I did.
You
I
did?
played very close attention.
Did you? Well, I would like to hear about because I'm going to be honest, I really didn't.
Oh yeah. The people that gave a damn, you know, did a decent job. Joaquin Castro, I think, really framed. Eesh. There was some kind of like imperialist posturing, which wasn't awesome, but for the most part, it was not a bad argument. I think that other people have framed it well when they said like the Democrats have like a full quiver of arrows to go after Trump for like years of systemic fucking corruption that led to this point. And they're going in with like two or three that are good, but like, why? Um, I at that point, I mean, like, of course the vote had burned me out because I was really conflicted about all that. Because it had a lot of merit. It had a lot of
Yeah.
merit. It's still, the plan has a lot of merit. People that are going after like Andre Gray and going after like, like Justin Jackson or going after like, like Katie Halper, going after like people that really earnestly were pushing the merits of the force to vote plan.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, I'm getting pissed off at that. It's just like, that's toxic. The plan itself wasn't bad. It's just that there was the conflation of, in my mind, I had the very specific problem of like, I live and grow up around a lot of law enforcement stuff. Just my neighborhood. That's not anything. It didn't feel like it felt like a trap to me, and I waffled around. Um, and then when the coup happened, I was like, all right, well, yeah, that checks. And I kind of kept up with that narrative, um, which got uh, and then so I had to follow the impeachment thing,
Yeah.
because basically that had to, the narrative was how much was that coup attempt, an accident, where it was like, okay, some of us are kind of sorry about some shit, but like not, and they put on a little show.
Yeah.
Uh, and how much of it was like, how shaken up are these fucks? Uh, it was pretty
Um,
obvious, by like the last day, that it was just like, ah, man, this is a really stupid fucking story. That's how it's
mhm.
gonna end. That's how it's gonna end. That's a really stupid
Mhm.
story. And it did, somehow, seven Republicans were like the good guys in this shit. But uh, the Democratic Party now has to, they don't even want to do anything with this narrative. And that, emphasizing on that narrative of their failure, um, of uh, of holding a country together, and then moving, knowing that they have this mandate, or at least prerogative of responsibility. Those words don't make sense together, but like, yeah, it's just, yeah, what, like they're gonna bet any kind of responsibility for keeping the fucking country together, which is why domestically the party should break down. Is my hope with all of the impeachment stuff aftermath.
Both parties? Which party? All of them.
Well,
Would
the
be nice.
Democrats control most municipalities that are, that function,
Mm.
through corruption and racism, but like they make money, Republicans, but like, yeah, like the Republican Party is already eating itself with the MAGA movement. Like, I don't care that
Yeah.
Trump is off Twitter. I think Twitter's better because he's off Twitter.
I think it's
Um,
boring. No, I think it's more boring now.
It's actually a little bit more effective. You see, like Biden sucks because he doesn't say anything. He's all like, the words of the president matter, and then he won't say shit about anything, you know?
No, nothing.
Right. But Trump sucked because he wouldn't shut the fuck ever.
I mean,
So
yeah,
like none of his
yeah.
right. So I mean like so like there was nothing with Biden, you can wait for him to say something. You can hold these things to flex on these narratives because he's gonna be careful. With Trump, he was just blasting out
It
stuff
was
where like the only thing I could
entertaining.
say to express my my feelings about it was like a constantly cursing at him. But people, despite me saying, "Yep, you deserve this. This is your American president," I don't like this person, and I think he's mentally ill, and he's toxifying all of us. So I don't care that he's off Twitter. I think it's better. Twitter's actually more effective for journalism. Um, Yikes! The Red Viper stuff.
Yeah, I'm
You
reading.
know,
I'm reading the chat too. Like,
yeah,
here's what. Also,
uh,
hi, Anthony. Prop. Everybody is here.
that's awesome. But
Well, that's why we brought you here to make it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm talking too much.
No, not at all. I like to hear your perspective on things. Mona says, "Let's shut up." I got to get better at interacting with the chat. Sorry, everybody. I'll get there eventually. Yeah, Mona says, "Let's shut everyone up that doesn't agree with us." Is that what you're implying? Because I mean, like, I just asked you a question. I'll get you in a sec. But my one caveat here is that everybody that uses all these social media sites and then like people get shadow banned or put taken off, we do sign the terms and conditions. And I'm not saying that anyone should be kicked off because I think they should have left Trump on there. I mean, probably wouldn't have worked out any better in the end, but that's just me. Because I like to think that.
Sorry.
What about Trump? I think he should have stayed on Twitter. I don't think we're any better for it. That's just me, though. I mean, first, can't you just unfollow him? Like, at the end of the, I mean, sometimes I think that people still, people have free will. People like can choose things, and I think to just get him off altogether kind of threw gasoline on the fire. But in a way, I think a lot of people want that fire. So they profit off of it, they benefit. So
I mean, I don't follow him now. I don't know where he's active.
Oh, I don't either. I don't know what he does. Oh, actually, that's a lie. I did hear something today. I think he's going to be talking this weekend at CPAC in Florida. So I know you'll be tuning in for that. You'll be there.
I won't.
No,
I'll be on Twitter trying to get media narratives that are trying to be active all over the world.
Yeah.
To find some kind of cohesion in what they're saying. And not whatever bizarre, insane bullshit that Trump wants to raise stocks on that day for whatever corrupt, crazy bullshit reason that entered into his brain that morning. Because doing that was so lucrative to the fascist project of just getting everyone desensitized to this like eco-fascist future, that they made him president. Now, if they actually want to take his politics seriously, they have to platform him at CPAC. Mitch McConnell has to say, yeah, the guy that, I had to lead an impeachment on, and then I just showed everyone what a complete piece of shit I am. Again, because I don't care. Now he's got to go back to kissing Trump's ass for no reason other than most of McConnell's voters like Trump more than they like him. So I don't care that Trump's off Twitter. I'm glad that he's actually trying to be a politician now. I hope it goes better for him, and the Democrats let him kick their ass in 2024. Fuck this country. We can't not expect that as a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not losing sleep over it. I just think it's more like the precedent. But at the end of the day, it is a private company. I'm not defending it. I've been bitching about this for a long time. I've been saying, like, no one cared a couple years ago when, like, this person was taken off just because they're on the right. And I'm like, okay, it'll happen to you eventually. But at the same time, I don't know if I love that everybody wants to make like things like that like a public utility, only because I don't know if I trust the people that are regulating it. Because people are always like, what do you mean you don't want public utilities? But no, I'm just saying, like, for something with speech and the communication involved, at least in this environment and climate, I don't know if that's a great idea either, but that's just me. I mean, at the end of the day, Trump was terrible. It wasn't a good time. I just taking him off of public platforms, I don't, or a private company, but a platform. I don't know if that's necessarily going to fix the problem, but it is what it is, I guess. I think Trump said that once, so I'm glad I just quoted him. It is what it is. But I'm actually curious. I'm going to switch it up a little bit. Have you been paying attention at all to what's been going on with the Movement for People's Party? I'm not sure if you have been or not. There's all some drama with that. You haven't? Well, basically, it's coming out to be that a lot of the leadership on Movement for the People's Party is essentially operating like a lot of these other larger organizations that claim to be like, the opposing side, or like they're going to change it up. And then you look into it and like they won't even show their funding. So I was curious if you knew anything about it. I mean, it sounds like their leadership is kind of MIA, and there's a lot of creators that have talked about this way more than I'm learning about it because I really didn't know that much about Movement for a People's Party. But my point was that you said something a couple of months ago when Jimmy Dore was talking about Force the Vote, and you said that you thought that part of what he was doing was just trying to start a third party. And I just think, basically my question is, do you think that every time there's going to be like a viable third party option, or that they try, do you think it's always going to end up just siloing people back into one of the two parties? Or do you think that there's eventually going to be like a viable third party, basically?
I would prefer there be no parties,
Yeah.
I advocate for direct democracy. Give everybody like a phone and an app. Give everyone the right to vote. Just like I do. I don't. So moving for People's Party, like I didn't care for like the Jimmy Dore thing where he like had a Boogaloo Boy, and he wasn't and then he had the commie kid, and then like those dynamics are things that I always found intrinsic in the people that gravitated to the Movement for the People's Party. Yeah, I mean, like, and it's not, like, it's whatever. Yeah, like Nick Brana,
Nick Brana.
He started the Movement for the People's Party.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's a nice guy. I think he's a good guy, and I think it was a good idea, and I think that he's done everything he's thought to do. I think that he started the project from operating on like people not to trust. And it's culminated to where it's at now because of that frame of mind, which is understandable to me. I don't know, to a lot of people, but like, I've been, seeing these things get attempted, or, trying to be part of something that tries that. Like, yeah, I can see how they can get stuck in that molasses. Yeah. So,
we'll see.
Yeah, like the Green Party, they're an international party. So already I feel like you're working with like some odd, like imperialistic do-gooder liberal logic. And it came to the United States in the mid 80s, after the Koch brothers and a lot of other billionaires already did a real strong effort at getting the Libertarian Party started by running presidential candidates. Charles Koch was a vice presidential candidate or presidential candidate himself. And this was during the Reagan election, which Reagan eventually won. So like the Libertarian Party had already affected the American political discourse to, the point where Reaganomics in the Reagan years, Reagan seemed like the compassionate conservative. So the Green Party developing under those dynamics, Minnesota in the mid-80s. I don't know, like that always felt like a weird leftist honeypot to me.
Mm,
Ralph Nader was extremely active in
yeah.
America, like before he was a presidential candidate, and he became the face of the Green Party because they needed someone like that, to keep lifting him up. He didn't run as the Green Party candidate in the early 2000s, and I'm sure that this time around they all had different feelings. They all pushed Bernie Sanders to be the Green Party person, or like, oh, just take over, for Jill Stein, in 2016, or do this or do that. And the Green Party got their asses kicked by the Libertarians this time around, despite all despite everything.
Yeah.
Donald Trump lost mostly because of the Libertarian Party, not because Joe Biden did anything phenomenally right. A lot of people hated Trump enough to organize against him, which was helpful, which was good, in my opinion. A lot of people turned out to keep supporting the nonsense that he enabled. Millions of Republican voters came out for that. But a significant, much more significant than the Green Party, number of people voted for the Libertarian Party. And that ruined Trump's standing in enough states that all his lawsuits against them fell apart because people with means and money and very serious about their politics were just like, no, F you, we're going to respect these results. So, like, I think a third party will form, but it's always going to form around money and power. That's the Libertarian Party. The Republican Party doesn't want to fold into the Libertarian Party because it doesn't lose this project of conservatism. I didn't give a shit about their project of conservatism. I wanted to lose. I want to be compassionate about it and discuss it and be humane about it, but that's never where the conversation fucking started with them. So like, Adam Kinzinger's stepping up and sticking up for marine humans, child, and that's going to be what the GOP needs to figure out.
Yeah.
The elephant can be Trump's party, and the ones that want to have some kind of compassion, humanity, but work within some kind of other frame have to figure it out on their own. The Libertarian Party is going to suck up, Democrats and Republicans alike, in my opinion.
That's interesting. I really hadn't thought about it that way. But you bring up Adam Kinzinger, which if people in the chat don't know, he's from Illinois, and he's definitely making some waves in the state because there's going to be somebody challenging him.
Nick Braun, poor dude.
What's that?
People hate Nick Braun on the chat.
Yeah, they do. And honestly, I don't know enough about him. I mean, I kind of was really skeptical of movement for a People's Party right away. That's just me. I'm just skeptical about everything. Like always, and I don't love, so like the more I'm learning about it, it just sounds like he kind of blew off a lot of the volunteers. From what I've heard is that like there's just no communication and people were asking for certain things
there was one volunteer that has been really leading the charge against Movement for the People's Party. They countered this internet poster and trying to help other narratives. They're very effective. And maybe kind of distrust a little bit, the attacks on the Movement for the People's Party, a bit. But because I'm skeptical of everything too.
Yeah.
I think that Nick got in over his head. I think the people that cared the most about it were, I don't know, like Kyle Kalinske or like Jimmy Dore.
Yeah.
And, I think that it had weight, but not the cohesion to sustain these next, these weird steps that happen. I mean, like forced to vote was a lot of political capital. And I know that people are upset that, like not everybody went all in on it. Again, because I felt like there was a coup coming. Like, I'm sorry, I do feel bad about it, like how it all shook out, but I felt like a coup was coming and a coup happened.
That word.
Yeah, because that's what happened. But Movement for People's Party, I think that it's built a network, it's built an idea, and it could still do very effective work in the states that it's active. and it could work to, through these growing pains, try to give legitimacy to third-party efforts, to ranked choice voting efforts, to democracy efforts. I mean, I would hope that the Movement for the People's Party, I talk a lot of smack about Jimmy Dore, but like,
Yeah.
he also, because he can be good, because like he can pontificate some good shit. Like, when he pushed for the Movement for the People's Party, that was a really inspiring speech.
Yeah, I
he
thought
was
he did
talking about
great
like it
work.
must succeed in democracy, or democracy's dead forever for history. And he wasn't wrong about that urgency. Um, I don't know if that's the vehicle that's going to, take it over the hump, but the Libertarian Party wasn't the vehicle, that it wanted to be in the 80s, and they still mostly got the world they wanted, would be my argument. And I would, the people involved with the Movement People's Party think pretty big. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to them. But
Yeah, I don't know
hope they
either.
figure it out.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. I mean, a lot of, friends, people, like other creators I know have been doing a lot of good research on it. And I will in time bring on a couple of the old volunteers from it just because I want to better understand. But I also like to remember that, whatever happens to one person, sometimes it might just be like a personal thing. Like I know there was somebody, that was upset. It was a volunteer that was upset because something wasn't ADA compliant, I believe, on the website. And if I'm wrong, forgive me, whoever did that sees this later. But my point is that like sometimes we get upset, like really upset at like a whole movement just because of like one thing, like personally, like affects us like on a personal level. But I really don't. I'm not putting a ton of faith in Movement for a People's Party because, like you said, I think Nick is over his head. I mean, it's not an easy thing to just start a new party. I think
Right.
It's a great idea, and the thing is, it's gonna take a lot longer than just like this election cycle for it to really be effective. But what I always like to try to focus on opportunities and the positive side. So what I think that like Force the Vote did and everything, even like, the stuff coming out about MPP, like how it might not be legit, like all of these things that are happening are exposing like more and more to people what the system really is, how it really works, and what I really want people to understand, and maybe to stop getting so emotional and like just exhausted over like a person, is that a politician is going to be a politician. Like they're not your friends. And I keep saying, especially on the left, people getting so worked up and just like going over and over and over about it, like when a politician doesn't do something that they want. And like I don't know how that's going to stop ever, because I think that's another really toxic thing. Like, for example, I can't stand AOC, I can't stand Lori Lightfoot, mayor of Chicago, but like I don't, well, actually I'm lying, because Lori Lightfoot is the one elected official that I'll get emotional about. So let me use a different example. Pretty much anybody else, like I just think it's not the most effective strategy in the long run for like the left to keep focusing on like these individual people, like tweeting about it and just having shows about it over and over and over again. It just kind of like makes me think a lot of them are grifters and they just want the clicks, because talking shit about, politicians isn't going to get anything changed. So, and I don't have the answers. No, and I don't have the answers, but it's just my kind of thoughts on it. I don't know why it's like keeps devolving into that. That's just me though. I'm looking at the chat.
We're certainly not talking about the hardworking people at Hardlands Media now, are we?
No, we're not. No, they're doing Hardlands Media so good. I'm looking at the chat and it says, let's see. Yeah, Anthony, what coup? I think that some of us are never going to agree on whether it's an insurrection or a coup. The New York Times and all the mainstream press stopped calling it a coup because I don't think that they could legally prove that it was a coup. Oops, I didn't mean to do what I just did. Sorry, Anthony.
Yeah, well, I don't think that they want to call it a coup. I think they want to call it an insurrection so that it benefits what laws they pass for it. That's the problem with calling it an insurrection. Anything that led to like agitation during the summer of Black Lives Matters protests could be called an insurrection under the right limited framework of Mitch McConnell's imagination. I call it a coup because it was a fucking coup, and the UN knows better. And I know they got a new guy. He's like really loving his likes and his retweets. He's got to call out the coup that's happening in Ecuador right now, or the UN goes back to being what a lot of, the people that are just entering this age of like internet, frequent use are understanding that their role is, which is like, are you here to rationalize human, like all our governments, or just like these rich elites? Are you here to help, the masses of people? Are you here to keep enough people alive? I have read and met people that, did amazing UN work, which really inspired me when I lived abroad. But I also know that like any government, any system of human beings, it's got an agenda that will limit its scope.
Hmm.
I'm glad that Trump's gone because the project of working to hold some kind of accountability, even if it's just public attention, can be the project of the internet again, not whatever the hell he's posting about.
Yeah, but I guess like for me, like whatever I call it insurrection, whatever it was, because a lot of people, yeah, obviously people in the chat, like it's a coup, it's an insurrection, but like at the end of the day, because I kind of think most of it was, I think that our government definitely knew about it, at least some of them did. I mean, I'm
Right.
pretty sure that was proven. So
Mike Pompeo must have known more. Sorry.
no, it's okay. I didn't mean it, but I thought you were gonna say, well, then it was a coup. But like at the end of the day, I think most of it was just a psyop. That's just me though. Another one, like because like
Mhm.
why? I mean, but I'm not saying that like one side didn't know and they were just innocent. But like I don't have time to listen to politicians talk about how they were like traumatized and stuff like that. Like I really don't. Like what about all the people that are traumatized every day by symptoms of the decisions that they make? Like I literally have no sympathy for any of them, and that's just me. So I'm sure that they gave a lot of their emotional pleas in the impeachment. I don't know. I don't have any use for a lot of the politicians anymore. Like unless they talk about just straight up like things like, oh, I don't know, getting us out of all the foreign countries we're in. Maybe they could follow through with their promise on helping people financially. You don't hear shit about like any semblance of reopening, and I'm not saying that to negate the reality of the virus, just for the record, but I think it's interesting that in other countries, almost every other country around the world, they've either figured out a plan or they're talking about it. Like here, like if you bring up reopening, you're immediately like deemed as somebody who doesn't believe in the virus, and that's hardly the truth. I just would like some kind of game plan for going forward because shit's been destroyed. I don't really know how, and I think a lot of that's by design. People took advantage of this crisis and are capitalizing on it to like kind of reset our economy. And that's why I didn't really have any interest in the impeachment. Let's say a Republican president wins. Don't like we've now set the bar that low. So it's just going to be like every presidency is just going to be impeachment after impeachment after impeachment. And I don't know. Sucks. I don't really know how we get out of this bad loop.
I don't know if like another president's gonna attempt a coup that fails and then get himself impeached. Like,
I don't think I just don't think that was him coordinating. He
and
sucks.
I
I
don't
don't
think it
know.
was
That's just
all
me.
him, but like, he made those phone calls to like overturn ballots and to different governors. His
Oh,
lawsuits were falling apart.
when he called, yeah, and he was like, "You got to find me that." But devil's advocate, isn't that just Trump speaking in his Trumpian way? Because that's what those people say. They're like, "Oh, he didn't mean it like literally. He just means like you got to track him down because he thinks they exist." It's like, and that's something about him. He did not understand that like people hang on to every word he says. So you might be like bullshitting, but
Well, how old is he that he doesn't know that yet?
oh, I don't know, like 75 possibly,
But
something like that.
he's mentally deficient. He should not have been president. And I don't disagree that he was probably taking advantage of it to a psyop. Yes, Anthony Reyes, I know that
Oh,
the
I was gonna
government
say, do
commits
you know?
psyops. Yes, I do. I know Cointepro. Yes, and I do think that them not calling it a coup is part of the psyop. They
Hmm, what do you,
That coup was not against the politicians. It was also against us. The cops are telling us they will kill you if you do not listen to every single fucking word they say when they tell you something. One of my friends was just, and I shouldn't be throwing her business out there, but like, like police brutality and the way that they'll menace someone in a hospital bed with this or that made up crimes and just tell them like we could string you up. Like Uh, those are psyops. The police like lying to you in an interrogation room to get you to admit to bullshit so that you get a lighter sentence when you've done nothing wrong. Those are psyops. So yeah, I know about psyops. I'm just saying that like what I felt January 6th was a very it was a psyop that I think got a little botchy and messy and needed to capitalize on that narrative of like you bastard damn near committed a coup because some of you guys got a little too wild thinking that maybe you could do it, you know? When really you just kind of wanted to scare the shit out of people.
Yeah.
Some progressive politicians, like, you don't have to feel sorry for them or like, care about their community, but like, I just think that like, yeah, I wouldn't think that mom was trying to kill me, you know? Only because they say they were. So like, why would I be like, you don't mean it? That doesn't make sense to me. Like, so I call it a coup because I think that that's the counter side of it.
Fair enough. Sorry, side note. Something's up with your audio. I don't know. You sound like weird. Yeah, everybody's saying. You sound like kind of like a robot. I don't know what happened. Try now.
Let me try.
It's the government, man. I know.
Probably my phone's gotta be tapped. Like,
oh no. Yeah, it's like a weird echo. It sounds really bad. Well, I'll talk for a bit and then hopefully yours will pick up. I mean, I don't know, because I'm just reading the chat and what people are saying, like Hughes is a psyop for sure. I think I agree with Anthony. I kind of am starting to think the whole Trump administration was just a psyop. I really do, because just to kind of get us into the Great Reset, like what's coming. Because at the end of the day, they don't want individual governments and countries. They just want, just like big chunks of land, like you were talking about before, like North America, that's, sector 1. Like they don't want any of that. And that's why I'm going to bring this back to Lori Lightfoot, actually. There's that video where she's talking about the New World Order, and everybody's like, ooh. Now, like when people talk about the New World Order, I don't always take it as like super like satanic crazy shit. It's just literally what they say, a new world order. Like they want it to be operating different. And so I'll talk about this more later on the channel because we're really going all over the place, but we always do that. But with Lori Lightfoot, there's this video where she's talking about like implementing new, like, I think governments. It cuts off, it starts after like, what the subject is, but they're essentially talking about like how to implement new systems. And she's on this video saying, well, it's all about compliance. So what you do is like eliminate like the barriers in the way of compliance through mandates, and then you get what you want essentially through different boards like land and zoning boards and stuff like that. And she's talking about literally that I'm like everything I'm seeing play out in Chicago and in other major cities, which is like the hollowing out essentially of a lot of land, like businesses, like look at downtown Chicago, for example. Like so many businesses are done there. So what are they going to do with all of that, like what are the property owners going to do with all those buildings? Well, obviously I think the government's going to buy them up. So I don't know what, will come from that. So like, I think somebody like Lightfoot, for example, is just one of those, she's part of this group that's essentially changing up the way our country is in order to fit more of like that global agenda. So that's just how, I don't know. I feel you have to check that video out if you see it. What's up?
That was Rahm Emanuel's thing too. Do I still sound weird?
For sure. Yeah, you do. Like, I'll kind of just deal with it because I want to keep this conversation going. I don't know what it like because you weren't even moving or anything when it changed. Okay, one moment, everybody. Let me look this chat. Let me see. Specific topic. Yeah, the NATO states want a new world order. Exactly. So, what's up, Shadow Band Refugees? So, could you tell me why the fuck the funds to fix the capital? Okay, wait, I want to read this.
Did that help anything?
You sound better. Shadow Band Refugees says, so can you tell me why the fuck the funds to fix the Capitol damage was appropriated 2 weeks before the riot? Ooh, good question. That's a good question.
Makes sense. I saw that they said Cori Bush, drafted something. I don't think that she's a CIA psyop. Somebody probably asked her to do something that seemed like a smart idea, and then they played into a larger narrative. That's what makes these things so weird. Yeah, that is suspicious. That's weird.
Yeah, the military was not in on the riot, so it's not a coup, and it wasn't even remotely organized or coordinated, so it's not a
But the
goddamn
military
insurrection.
withheld support. That's some military involvement. So yes, I will be the stickler about there was some military involvement in withholding support. That's as far as I will go.
Somebody else said, and why exactly did Adam Schiff reintroduce his Patriot Act 2.0 legislation he tried to pass in 2018? Patriot Act 2.0 was written 2 years before the riot, just like Patriot Act 1 was written in 96.
Sounds like Mike Pompeo shit, in my opinion. But,
See, I think it's all of them. I don't know. It was a little convenient.
you know, Cruz was in on it. Pompeo was in on it. Oh, well, Pompeo. I mean, he was just like automating his text, to be gallivanting around the world to have all these legitimacy for America. Well, it was happening. But yeah, it's funny how Cruz is really the one that's taking the beating over this, and McConnell is just playing all sides and clearly seems to be favoring Tom Cotton's presidential aspirations. So, like, if was a psyop in the sense that the people that were already planning the next presidential election weren't totally thrown off their game, because they're just like, oh yeah, all this shit makes sense because of the shit that we were doing. So like, yeah, but like that's also why I will not relent and calling it a coup, because like these guys know what they were capable of doing in that moment, and I think that did shake them, and that's why I keep using that word.
So then let's go with that then if we're gonna be there. So how would that benefit if all these people were in on the coup, like a Ted Cruz, like how would that benefit knowing like the shit way that they actually executed that coup? Like how I only push back on that because like why would like Ted Cruz isn't benefiting from this at all because the other side is now making an example of it. I mean, he's not
Right.
benefiting from it, so I don't understand why
No, he's
participate in
not.
something that was poorly executed. And I'm just putting myself in the camp of saying it's a coup. Like, why do that unless you're 100% or pretty damn sure that it's going to work out in your favor? And like, who does that benefit in the long run? Like, I tend to be more in the camp of thinking like they're all fucked instead of just like more of like one side is like for sure. I'm not disputing that like Mike Pompeo sucks or Ted Cruz sucks. It's just like I don't really think I don't know what the benefit would be.
Ted Cruz, Ted Cruz has made. He was Donald Trump before Donald Trump. Basically, Donald Trump copied Ted Cruz's style of politicking, because he's like, I can do it better because I'm a billionaire and I don't care about God, and like everyone believes anything that I say. And I mean, like having them both sync together is beneficial to McConnell, and Tom Cotton. So like, the Republican Party there, like you also see splintering.
For sure.
And then like you have McCarthy speaking for the party, trying to support Trump, and Liz Cheney without a microphone, standing behind him. No one asked her a question, just interjects, and everyone shuts up, listens to what she says. There's a follow-up question, and they're like, okay, that's actually what's going on. So like, there's a split between the Republican Party too, and
yeah, I've been talking about that for months.
Yeah, I think that this has to happen to the Republican Party. I think that the Democrats are pretty clear about who sucks and why, and mostly the Bernie Sanders people adjacent will have to take the brunt of the Democrats' bullshit while they continue to just be colonial imperialist psychopaths. But yeah, like that's yeah, mess everybody up. And I hope that if we keep advocating for more democracy, we might accidentally get it because they won't know how else to placate the masses. So
maybe it'll just happen by accident. That'd be nice, huh?
That would be nice. Usually how nice things happen. In Chicago anyway.
Yeah, well, Chicago. We can bring it back to Chicago. I don't know if you saw the letter that a lot of CEOs in the city signed, basically supporting Lightfoot, and that's again how I'm going to go.
My phone's going to die. Right.
That's basically again goes back to my point talking about all these mayors and cities that are just terrible, like hollowing out the cities, and Lightfoot's definitely one of them. Like she's literally in my interview that I'm going to post on this channel that I had with Alderman Cito Lopez. He went off about Lightfoot, and I was happy about it. He was basically saying that she's a mayor for the corporations, and I think that's like all big cities. Like this is very coordinated. So I just thought it was really funny to see letters, this signed by all these CEOs whose businesses at the moment are a lot of them. I mean, they're restructuring. I guess they're not going to have actual businesses downtown, but it's just like nauseating to see them sign that. Like basically, like we support this. It's just like I despise her. She's ruined the city. I really hope that she's a one-term mayor. She helped in ending it. I'm not saying it was her alone. There's been decades coming, but I mean, she's not a good mayor. She's not a good mayor. She's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, the measurement is Rahm Emanuel. And yeah, she's just like, I want to be worse because I got to make his agenda happen fast, even faster. So she's going that route, which is rough. You're right. Every major city in America was founded by, pirate merchants, big business. They feel owed and obligated to the city, which is why, I don't want a hybrid police and school board. I want a school board and I want a civilian police oversight board. I want that messy democracy because I think those community discussions mitigate that kind of concentration of power that business, is very comfortable with just one chief executive in the city that they mostly control. Never mind that they control them while they're in office. They also control who even gets a chance to run for office.
Yeah.
Which is why I was forgiving of Amara Enya taking Kanye West money. It's just like, this is Chicago. This is awful. Like, if you're trying to find, if you're trying to find clean money to give you enough oomph to get into the mayoral race, it's good luck,
and I think that's just all of politics, honestly. That's a good point that you say. It's a microcosm of the big picture. Sorry to cut you off, but I agree. And Anthony just said big business taking over his textbook, Great Reset. I'm actually almost done reading that book, The Great Reset.
Yeah, my understanding of The Great Reset is Naomi Klein's book.
No, Klaus Schwab.
Oh,
yeah.
Naomi Klein wrote. Yeah, she wrote a lot about I kind of take the Great Reset as like the Bravos elites getaway. They were doing these getaways around the Obama years. They were annual. Now I think they've done a few every 5 years. They planned a Great Reset almost 10 years ago for this election cycle. That always stayed with me. I was I don't, big business has always controlled all of our lives. It's never not taken over. The mafia, had enough people within unions that had enough autonomy away from that, but that was kind of short-lived, and they've really messed us up with Reaganomics over it. The Great Reset to me is international big business. People are more afraid of a world government when really this is a world cabal of competing businesses settling on a timeline on where they're going to take different directions in industry. How far has technology proliferated our everyday lives? What kind of jobs do we need? How do we take control of childcare and education so that we can condition children to be useful in that new economy? How many people do we need in that new economy? How many people can go? That shit takes time to figure out and find out, and a bunch of people have self-interest, I think that internationally, Obama brought in a lot of international players to Chicago. That's one change that it was very apparent during, his impact on locally on Chicago, which is why when Braun was coming, people were just like, well, it's been a mess because, no one from the White House is here talking, and it was still just Citibank just being like, yeah, see, we're a bank, we're not nice people, and they were always annoyed that people were like upset that,
Mm,
yeah, but yeah, the Great Reset to me is just like it's all of those international people, getting together during the Obama years, very skeptical of each other, um, basically thinking so little of the American character. They're like, make Trump president, like fuck it. And now, because of Biden promising them that nothing will fundamentally change about the trajectory that they've been on, them just kind of being not shy about saying, Amazon brings you childcare in Bezosville, like that's
hmm.
brand new town. There's no
Yeah,
poisoned water. There's, it's out in the middle of the fields. I need you to build this goddamn rocket to Mars. That's your lives from now on. Just be cool about it.
be
Uh,
cool. It'll be fun.
yeah, yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I try to just keep looking at everything from like a big picture perspective. And so like after reading The Great Reset and the fourth, I think it's the fourth Industrial Revolution, that's also by Klaus Schwab. I would suggest anyone read that. That really tells you where we're going because it doesn't really matter at this point, like how much we talk about it. Like it's happening. It's all about how you adapt and figure out like where you can fit in this world and not be completely miserable. It's easy to like fall down the rabbit holes, God knows I do, and like think the worst dystopian case scenario, which it might be, but we can also adapt. And you know a lot of what they're doing, it's all still just theoretical, and that doesn't mean it's always going to work out. I don't think that at the end of the day the general population really understands what's coming, but I think most of these people they're motivated by profit more than power, honestly, at the end of the day. Like I really do. Like power is important. It's very it's addictive. I can't say what I would be like if I was in that powerful of a position, but at the end of the day, it's all profit. And if you're like watching like everything like with money, like with the value of the dollar, like I really think we're about to just go into like a global kind of digital currency. And that's I'll go off a sidebar here, like that whole like Wall Street bets things, which I loved it because it was like a group of people saying fuck the man. But then the more I looked into it, I'm like, okay, it's a little coordinated, like what's going on with it. I think that was also a way to just kind of usher people into being more familiar with digital currency, like Bitcoin. Like I think that'll soon, I don't know, I think it's coming soon. So we'll have to see. I don't know.
I agree. I agree with all of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It's all about just like I said, like adapting. And that's why I think for everybody's mental health, it's good to just like take a step back from this shit sometimes and just try to see, like, put it in perspective. Like I have a lot of friends that, because they're not working right now, they're just online all day, and that's fine. But it's just like the effect that all this shit's having like on like the mental health of people, like friends of mine even, it's just scary. And like I wonder what's going to happen because this whole revolution is encouraging more and more of just like this online only like kind of communication, and that is concerning to me. So
Uh,
I don't know. I covered a
yeah,
lot of ground there, but yeah,
yeah.
that's
Can
how I
I
feel.
can I weigh in on a little bit on that?
Please, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like I was getting tweeted at with my old account last year by accounts I knew, like about very I mean, like I was also smoking a lot of weed every day during this pandemic, which isn't great. But like
That's
that's
okay.
what I was doing to like, you know, accept to the degree that our government not only was counting on hundreds of thousands of us more than necessary to die, to use that trauma to lead a coup. I'm sorry, coming back to that.
Going back to
Uh,
going back there.
Coming back to that, yeah,
God.
they would do that. Um, yeah, I was smoking way too much weed. I was on Twitter way too much. I was getting tweeted out about a lot of weird stuff that I didn't fully understand because everything to me was like a psyop.
Mm.
I need to keep the line. Cops are pissed. They're mad. Locally in Chicago, they should face a lot of of reforms under Lori Lightfoot, even weak ass liberal reforms that Obama was asking for 10 years, they don't want to do. And yeah, so like it was not trusting their bullshit that kept me just paranoid about everything. I'm speaking loudly, like, I don't get my neighbors. But like, yeah, but like, yeah, I mean, like, that wasn't good. That wasn't the right way to respond to what was happening in the world.
It
But
happens.
yeah, I think that people can come back from these, from anything really, if they have enough time and space to properly tend to themselves
Yeah.
and to heal. And how much of that have people been able to do while they don't get their $2,000 checks, while they're being pushed to go back into unsafe working conditions, and while they're being forced to go into unsafe working conditions, not being able to see loved ones as they're
Yeah.
passing away. The toll that's taken on healthcare workers that have seen untold amount of death after already having a horrific job of having to deal with it. Like, our government isn't doing anything about any of this, and they're not going to.
No.
It's what people are coming to terms with, and that's why I frame things the way that I do, because the anger has to stay at the people that had the power to stop that coup and are using that innocuous situation to instill more fear and hopelessness in us. They shouldn't have any legitimacy. They shouldn't be able to tell us that the Constitution's important, but they don't have to fucking follow it or whatever the hell they McConnell talks about. Like, that's the only way, in my view, to mitigate a lot of the global trauma that the U.S. is, perpetuating on their own people and everywhere. Everyone around the world sees how little America gives a shit about their own people. I mean, like, remember, America just blatantly murders people all over the world all the goddamn time. And they just show the world, and we'll kill 500,000 of our own fucking people and tell them that, it's your fault, you idiots, for going outside when we told you not to. And now, all you people that are upset about it are dangerous and unhinged. So, like, if you're not working and they're just are online too much, we should be tracking you and policing you. And fuck them, for that. So, like, I don't even know where I was going with this.
I know, that's half the time when I go on rants here too. I don't even know where I was going with it. We hardly talked about Chicago, but it's hard to not see things on a bigger picture. I think the biggest
health.
Yeah, it's very important. I think the biggest thing that people are searching for, and I will say, like, my personal community has actually, I would say, gotten better throughout this pandemic. I think people will come out of this better or worse, meaning they'll have taken this opportunity, whether they even wanted it or not, to kind of really prioritize or, like, see the world maybe differently and, like, what they want to do with their lives. And then there's some people that are coming out of this, either they still are just waiting for things to go back to normal. And I hate to say it ain't never going back to normal. And do you even really want it to go back to normal? Because normal was, our country doing all the fuckery around the world. And, like, I kind of think those days are over. And I don't think I don't think, like, America, like, not being, like, the leader of the world, and I'm not saying that in a good way, like, I don't think that ending is necessarily a bad thing. Like, like, the right's obsessed with, like, China, like, they're gonna take us all over. Like, would that be the worst thing in the world? I'm just kidding, because, like, China,
and, like, they even care that much, like,
no.
That's the other thing. Like, I don't think that China really cares for American workers, and our penchant for wanting to unionize. That's how you solve that,
Yeah.
That's pretty simple.
Yeah. I don't know. I understand, like, you were talking about, like, people being forced to go back to, like, unsafe working conditions. Like, I don't think that's a good thing. However, I do think that more leaders should at least be talking about, like, to give some hope to people. Like, if we just, like, let's just talk about it a little bit, like, once we reopen, because there's some people that are just sitting at home, like, thinking it's never going to happen. And it's just sad because, I mean, yeah, our country completely failed at handling all of this. I hate that it got so politicized, but it did. And that, I think that's going to happen with like every issue that comes to us, like in the future, it's going to get politicized. And I don't really see our way forward. So maybe another country should just take us over. I'm just kidding. But God, like, it's just,
And the Republicans want it to be Russia, and the Democrats want it to be China, and we're just like, like the working conditions in both countries are kind of rough, and like you guys just suck. And America's just like, well, we haven't been great to you either. So like, it does sound like America's had terrible parents, and we're getting pawned off by like people that want to buy us.
yeah, we're for sale. We always have been, and it's just we're on sale. We're on sale right now. It's a good discount.
Pretty much.
So this is fun, but this is, I don't want to end it on a negative note. Things will be okay. I think it's important for just people to kind of, they will. I mean, they won't, but they will. It's what you make of it. I guess my biggest lesson, well, I've always thought this, but I think my biggest hope for people like to maybe learn is that like, you can want all these things in life. You can want all these good things for the government to do for you. But the fact of the matter is, like, our current government isn't going to do it. So we kind of have to figure something else out. And it doesn't mean you have to violently kill like an overthrow or, a coup. But we rely on each other. Like, I think at the end of the day, it's natural for people to just help each other and not rely on the government. And that's my biggest caveat is like, we just keep talking about, well, why isn't the government doing this or that? Like, they're not going to. So I think that it's possible for us to do a lot of these things on our own. That's just me.
I don't disagree. Utopia. I think that the whole issue I take with the government and our lack of engagement with it is that the government should be facilitating people to be able to work together much more. And instead, the government often is more of a divisive tool between community building. Between a petite bourgeois, between a working class, between union workers, between contract workers, and these are divides that government has enabled for business purposefully, within our society, and it's a tool to create those divides. At the very least, to soften those divides so that more community cohesion can take place is my personal engagement with the government. If it was completely gone and we just had people, like hunter gathering and just like trading with shit, like that'd be all right. I don't know, I'd make it all right. I keep to myself mostly. But yeah, maybe.
Barter, come on.
Yeah.
Let's hope it doesn't come to that.
I don't know. I might get taught some bad deals.
No. So before we go, I just want to tell, there's 16 people here. That's pretty good for this channel's numbers. Chicago Corner, there are some changes coming. So right now it's just kind of a little bit of a free-for-all. But I'm going to be, and this is all in time, because now I've got a little bit more help with 2 guys coming in. I'll introduce them later. But a lot of like production value upgrades and such. But I really want to cover more in Chicago, not just politics. I honestly don't, I will cover politics, but I'm kind of like, I'm so cynical about Chicago politics right now that like nothing I say is going to be productive. So I want to focus on more like history of Chicago, like old stories. And really at the end of the day, I want to focus on just everyday people in Chicago. There's so many creators, there's so many activists, people on the ground. There's just so many stories in this city. It's one of the hardest working cities in the world, and I think the people that live in this city should have a voice. So I'm gonna kind of go that route and focus on more of the culture. I want to talk about the history of like all the neighborhoods in the city. A lot of people don't realize how many different little neighborhoods and enclaves there are. So I'm gonna kind of go down that route. It's gonna be and I definitely want to have you come back on when you can, every now and then, so we can bitch about things. But because I always like our conversations because they kind of go all over the place. And that's how my mind works anyway. So like, it's interesting to talk with you, but so that's kind of my game plan for this channel. And I, help keep growing. It's not easy to grow a YouTube channel. So I've got to just, do it instead of just like think. A lot of the times I'm like a perfectionist and I'm like, oh, this plan's got to be perfect. But like for a channel, you just kind of got to start putting content out there. So I'm doing that. I'm gonna post the interview that I had with Alderman Cito Lopez. That was good to talk to him. It was interesting. I think a lot of people, even if you don't live in Chicago, will find what he had to say interesting about the city, because it's, again, kind of a microcosm of like the country as a whole. Let's see. And then lastly, let's plug your podcast. So it's go one more time. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I'm trying to put it in the chat, but I think I can only private chat or something like that.
Oh yeah, I saw here. I can post it. I'll
Thanks.
copy and post it. Okay. I don't know why you're
Thanks.
not allowed to talk. Yeah.
Oh my God, wait, what? I'm sorry. Who has cancer?
Terrifying. Wait, what? What is cancer?
I'm
Oh
sorry.
no.
I hope you're doing well.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry, G-Force.
That's awful. I'm so sorry.
You know, there's I'm glad that,
Oh,
you're going the route you are with the podcast, because those are the stories. Yeah, and that's what I had hoped the channel would be. There's a lot of local Chicago stories, but like it's a weird election, then
yeah.
pandemic, and I had like a few interviews like on the street, very few.
Yeah.
I'm happy it's going that route, because that's what we need. We need the stories of elevating pain and trauma. I didn't want that to be the project that was being used by Biden campaign and Democrat adjacent vehicles. So I didn't participate in that kind of work directly during the pandemic, 'cause I was furious.
Yeah.
But that is the work that we needed and need.
Yeah.
My new podcast,
Yeah.
Millennial Malfunction.
I posted it in the chat. Yes, everybody check
know,
it out. Yes, it's a new
thanks.
podcast. Go ahead. Yeah, focusing on malfunctions in society.
Yeah,
I'm really excited to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, like millennials, I feel like, yeah, it was actually inspired by some Gen Z TikTok. Who I also hope to do some TikTok work around some Chicago neighborhoods.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, little things like that. But like, this Generation Z TikToker just kind of talking a little smack about millennials and
Yeah.
our trepidations. And I think that's all of it was fair too. Actually, is why it stuck with me. But I do think that millennials, starting the family, taking care of our health, has been extremely challenging for our generation.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. And again, like at the beginning of this interview, I do feel like the next psyop by the business class, the global business class, the government, the elite, is going to point out millennials that did it right. Look at this happy family. Look, they own a home because they worked during college. You're going to see a lot of bullshit like that. That's what going back to normal is about. That's what brunch is about.
Oh yeah.
They don't want to hear about, yeah, awesome G-Force. They don't want to hear like how many people fell through the cracks that were actively being created, during the height of American empire. So my podcast is going to focus on that.
Awesome. That sounds cool. I'm a big nerd about researching and just like reading about differences in generations. I love that. I've talked a lot about millennials before, just like with other people. It's interesting. So I'm looking forward to that. So I posted it in the chat. I'll post it one more time, and I'll definitely plug you out. Because again, I can't thank you enough because you brought me onto Chicago Corner. So I will do my best. And it's always great talking to you. So come back soon. But yeah, thank you everybody for being here. It was we had like 16 people at once, so we're growing. But yeah, I hope all is well with you, and hang in there, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds great.
All right, bye everybody. Thank you.